Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Good morning. I hope everyone had a great weekend. It's Monday, it's the first day of the work week, so hope everyone has a great week. Harlem Eubank actually fights this weekend against Jack Catterall. I'm not sure if I'm covering the fight. No, I'm not going to cover the fight because the fight is going to be early. If it was at night, I would have definitely covered it. But since it's during the day, I'm not going to be able to cover the fight this Saturday. But Chris Eubank Jr., Conor Benn, classic. Getting a rematch in September 20th, London. What do I think about it? I mean, listen, I knew the rematch was going to go down. There's no way you can have a fight of the year type of fight and not have a rematch, especially with these two, especially because of the history behind two of their dads. I mean, the two dads had a rematch too. I don't know if the rematch is going to bring that same magic from the first fight. You know what I mean? Because this was a highly, highly criticized fight at one point. A lot of people thought it was ridiculous, because of the weight and stuff like that. Chris Eubank fighting at 160, Conor Benn. Well, before he got popped, he was fighting at 147. I think people forgot that that's how it all played out, Conor Benn was fighting at 54 before going to 160 to fight Eubank. And at one point there was like a catch weight, a few pounds lower than 160. So Chris was going to really be drained. You know what I mean? But they settled it. The fight was at 60. I think Conor did a phenomenal job. I think Eubank did a phenomenal job. I did cover the fight. It was a moment, man. It was a great, great moment. I think Eubank Sr. coming and showing up with Eubank Jr. that night, especially all of the things he's been saying in his interviews leading up to the fight. It seemed like they were just completely disconnected, how they haven't spoken in years and all of that. I think that just made the night magical. It made it epic, I don't expect that, but because of the hype of the first fight, because of, just how well the fight went, how much action was involved in it, I think the fight is going to do well. I think people are going to be looking forward to it. I believe that this fight is like the week after Canelo and Crawford. So it's going to be a crazy schedule. Like it was earlier this year. I think there was a big fight this year. I think Eubank and Benn was like the week after or a week before another big fight. But yeah. I think the Inoue fight was right after that fight, which was my second favorite fight of the year. As far as like tactically what the fighters can do, I don't know. I'm obviously going to do a breakdown at some point. I really don't know if there's anything the two guys can do realistically. I think for this fight, I think regardless of what they try to do in the early rounds, it's going to be similar. Like, I think these guys are going to try to work towards their advantages. Chris is going to control distance and, try to catch him on his way in. And then Conor is going to do everything he can and get inside and be, throw those combinations and become the hooker. I think he's going to try to do. I think Conor was definitely probably in those middle rounds when Chris decided to really bang with him. I think that's when Conor started, picking up some of those rounds and hurting Chris a little bit. But again, he just couldn't. He started getting tired. How long can you maintain that much activity? And Chris started to use his size against him, pushing him back against the ropes and doing even more damage. I think Chris clearly won the fight, though. Like, I thought it was competitive, but I think Chris clearly won the fight. I had Chris winning. I can't remember what my scorecard, 7 rounds to 5, maybe 8-4 or something like that. Chris clearly won the fight to me. But Conor, it was very, very competitive, and Conor was able to buzz him, to stun him a few times in that fight. So I think it's worthy of a rematch for sure. I don't think it's going to be as good as the first, but it still might be a very good fight. And I do want to see it again, you know. I know a lot of people felt like they don't need to see the rematch. I do want to see it again. Obviously, I've always wanted Eubank to be involved in some of the fights in his time at 160, especially in that time. You know, I wanted to see him fight Charlo at one point when they were both at 160. I wanted him to fight Triple G. Even wanted the Billy Joe Saunders rematch at some point. You know, it's a list of people. Same with Conor. You know, I kind of wanted him to fight some of these guys at 47, you know, like Jerron Ennis. You got Brian Norman there now. You know, I know he called out Mario Barrios. I know he's willing to go back down. I personally think that Conor should go to 54 after the end of this Chris Eubank thing. I think he should go back down to 54. I don't think he should go all the way back down to 47. It's been some time now. You got to remember, he had a couple of fights at 54. He was suspended for a while. I know he won't be a big guy at 54, but I think he just should, focus more on his weight and being healthy, being strong. I think the weight cut would be too much down at 47 at this point. There's a lot of guys at 54. You know, Boots is a matchroom fighter too. But if Conor is to pull this off in some way, I'm expecting a trilogy between the two. However way he wins, I'm expecting a trilogy. You know, I wouldn't even be surprised if this is a trilogy, if it's another, close fight. But I really just want, if Chris Eubank wins and he wins more clearly, I would like for them to move on because they have a lot of other options. I know Chris is older now, but I still think that he has options. You know, Turkey, I don't know if Turkey directly said it, but I know it's been said from the Ring magazine that Canelo, they're looking to put him in there with Chris Eubank Jr. You know, I don't know if Chris would do the Hamza Shiraz fight, but maybe he will. If Hamza is to beat Belanga, maybe he will. He has options, even though he's getting older. Conor Benn has a million options. You know, he can do whatever. Do his 47 thing. He can do something at 60. He can do whatever he wants to do, 54. But I'm looking forward to the fight. And we have a great schedule. That's why when Haney got announced to fight Brian Norman Jr. all the way in November, I understood it because the schedule is so crazy coming up. There's a lot of boxing to cover. It's great for the channel. I can't wait to see it. That's it. So listen, hit the thumbs up for me, guys. Smash the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. And I'll see you guys on the next one, all right? Y'all have a good day.